it's not about followers in that sense. It's about, like I was saying before, it's about credibility of what he brings to the table. We fail to probably understand what drives that decision maker in terms of hiring or having a product solution in their company. Ultimately, who is their stakeholder? Who is their customer? It is the employees who work in the company.
Yeah.
It's also important that you kind of ensure the employees who work in the company also accepts your brand.
Yeah.
One thing which every marketer should understand is consumer behavior or human behavior. I advise a lot of my team members and whoever I meet that you should know all about marketing 100%, but unless you know how to read a consumer, unless you know human behavior, you cannot market to them, you cannot talk to them. And yeah, and as a brand, you better catch up with all the trends, otherwise they will leave you behind.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Kofluence Unplugged. This is your host Safwana, and today I'm joined by a dynamic and forward-thinking leader in the realm of marketing with over a decade of experience in managing and growing brands. It's my pleasure to welcome the head of marketing at Acer India, Sooraj Balakrishnan. Let's dive into the episode to know more about his innovative approaches in GTM strategies and marketing models. Welcome to Kofluence Unplugged, Sooraj.
Thank you, Safana, for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming down. Why don't we start by introducing yourself? Could you give for listeners to understand more you better?
Yeah, sure. So I started my career in banking of all the places. So I started in Deutsche Bank. Then I moved to ICICI. So I was into sales. In ICICI, I was handling a lot of the wealth products what ICICI sells. So it is more of ensuring that we talk to a lot of these high net worth individual customers, ensure that they buy our ICICI products. So a lot of sales, core sales. Then I shifted to marketing. I had a stint in the agency. I have handled clients like Toyota. So when the Fortune Innova launched, and I can proudly say that it was me who kind of helped launch that product. So very dear to my heart, those two products. Then I'm handling clients like Lenovo. So then Acer came calling. So I joined there as the manager for marketing. So I was handling consumer and commercial marketing there. And then I moved to Intel. So I was heading the retail division there for Intel. And then I came back to head the marketing for Acer. So right now I look after 3 countries, India, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. So that's a bit about me.
Amazing. That's quite a journey, I would say. I mean, from banking to auto and then to tech and everything. That must have been quite some experience.
Yeah.
So to set the context for our discussion today, could you throw some light on what exactly is B2B influencer marketing and how is it different from B2C?
Yeah, sure. So there is, difference and there is commonality, I'll say, because B2B marketing, ultimately, you're still marketing to a person, a decision maker in the company.
Exactly.
But then, usually B2B marketing is a long form sales cycle. So you kind of tend to look at, influencers who are in the field, who we say are experts in that domain. So who work in that domain, who have done a lot of work and got success in that domain. So we kind of look for such people where their work actually can speak for themselves. So that's very important when we look for a B2B marketer, while B2C is more of popularity, how many people are kind of following them and the reach and all of that. Although that's still important, B2B, I feel their credibility goes a long way to kind of ensure that, the target audience which we are talking to do take them seriously. So I think that's a difference with B2B and B2C.
Of course. And with B2B influences as well. So when, let's say a B2B business is looking out for a marketing strategy and they're thinking about including influencers in it, who exactly would you prefer in such a case?
So that depends on what business you are in, first of all. So how mature your target audience is in terms of, is it like a company who is a large enterprise already and you want to sell to them, or you are selling to somebody who's like a startup? Because if you look at a large enterprise target audience, a CIO kind of audience, he has a lot of stakeholders in his company who he needs to co-work with to implement solutions or whatever you're selling. While a startup owner kind of thinks more of a consumer mindset, so he or she will have a mindset, a mix of consumer and a commercial or a B2B mindset. So, for example, if he chooses a brand, he usually prefers a brand which he is comfortable buying it in a startup environment. But then in a large enterprise, if you look at a CIO, what you need to do is, you need to look at influencer who really can talk to him, whom he admires, whom he looks up to. So it's not about followers in that sense. It's about, like I was saying before, it's about credibility of what he brings to the table. So depending on whom you're going behind and how complex your product is. So technology product, for example, what we sell at Acer, that's a high tech product, right? It needs an influencer who can talk that technology aspect, solution aspect, and what that brings to his business. So it's a multifaceted aspect where a typical tech reviewer probably won't be able to explain how this solution can benefit a business environment. So if you look at that from our point of view, we need somebody who's able to explain that aspect very well. Somebody who has implemented large-scale, probably tech transformation projects in his own career, or advised on such projects, and that kind of gives us confidence that our audience will look up to what he or she is saying about our solution. So it's important that whoever is going to look for a B2B influencer does a very thorough research. You can have somebody who has 100,000 influencers, but then if their base is spread across the world and your market is only India, you probably rather go for somebody at 10,000 followers, but then majority of their followers are your decision makers, right? And you have good tools on LinkedIn, for example, where the engagement, you can see what is the title of the person who's engaging with those influencers. So you kind of know that, yeah, this influencer is will help me in terms of reaching out to the right decision makers in my domain. So I think that's important for someone to look into, and you don't probably go mass in terms of B2B. In B2C, we kind of see that we probably work with micro and macro in terms of the numbers, but B2B, we work with a smaller number but deeper impact.
Understood. And also when it comes to KPIs that any marketer should ideally be looking into, because tracking and performance at the end of the day is what marketing should all be about. So what exactly would be the KPIs that you would suggest a marketer in B2B should look after?
Yeah, so a KPI, again, I think the objective of your campaign should be defined, right? So then you can look at what are the indicators you want to go behind. For sure, I think lead generation has to be your major KPI, because you engage your influencers to ensure that they open doors for you, right?
Yes.
So how many doors they can open for you, how many kind of familiarity they can bring to your decision makers about your brand or your product is very important. So definitely, I think lead generation has to be a priority for you. But then as a secondary kind of KPI, you can definitely look at how many people have actually visited your website from that. So you can use tagging to kind of track how many people clicked on the link which influencer will be putting out in his video review, whatever he's doing, and then how many people landed on your website.
Yes.
How many people probably engaged with your website. We also track how much of time was spent on the website. So if we do a campaign with an influencer beyond the lead generation part, maybe that'll be a hot lead if you look at a pure lead gen or somebody who filled up a form. But somebody landed on our website and spent a good quality of time going through the solutions or the product. So the time spent on the website from his traffic, I think that's also a good indicator to kind of understand that, yes, this influencer is bringing quality traffic to me. So I think that's something very important to track as well.
Yeah, got it. So you've been in the industry for 10 plus years now, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, much more than that now.
Yeah, okay. So over the years, I'm very sure that there would have been like a clear shift in the marketing strategies that you've been using across industries, and you've worked with different sectors as well. So is there something that you would like to highlight in terms of the present landscape?
I mean, if you look at B2B, I mean, there was no influencer concept in B2B before, right? I mean, largely, yeah. I mean, if you look at from a point of view of inviting a expert speaker to a forum and then maybe having him or her talking about your product in that forum, yeah. I mean, that's definitely was going on. But from a social media point of view, B2B influencer is definitely a new concept. It's much more niche. It's not as evolved as B2C influencer for sure. The number of people doing B2B influencer marketing is also very low. And and you have diversified products, you have solutions, you have hardware products, you have various kind of products which companies are selling. So finding a right fit for influencer is also challenging in terms of the numbers out there. So in that sense, I think even the B2B social media marketing itself is new in the industry. We never used to think about selling to an enterprise customer using B2B influencer, right? So I think that itself is new. But then, I mean, if you look at the other tactics of even, if you look at very account-based marketing, if you look at that, we kind of consider a decision maker as a B2C customer as well. So, if you kind of know his interest, for example, he likes golf, right? So maybe we kind of go and kind of have a presence in those kind of environment, right? So he kind of gets exposed to a brand much more. His passions outside of work can also influence how he sees a brand. So I think even for a B2B brand, being little B2C centric also helps, just because I mean you see major traditional brands like Oracle, for example. They sponsor a lot of large scale consumer events. They sponsor TV shows. They sponsor sporting events. So why do they do that? It's because just because your CIO sits in office doesn't mean he doesn't have a life outside office.
Exactly.
So that's why having a B2C mindset also helps in terms of ensuring that your B2B products sell. So I think that should also be kept in mind while you run a B2B product or a company.
Definitely, Suraj. And let's talk about GTM strategy, since that's your forte of marketing efforts. So what exactly is a go-to-market strategy or the framework for it?
So GTM is nothing but when you introduce a product or a solution to the market, you analyze your market, you see who your target audience is, you see what's your competition out there, you design a strategy which kind of helps us to talk to your TG, pricing policy, how do you position your product, what are the market which you go behind, do you go behind a certain size of the company, or you go behind certain cities or states, depending on what you're selling. For example, the products which we sell for education, right? So that's something which we look at in terms of smart classroom projects. So we start with your metro cities to go with, and then you slowly start going behind the smaller towns. You look at other digital transformational project, say in manufacturing, for example. There, a lot of manufacturing plant doesn't exist in the metro cities. They are out of the metro cities. So a lot of our transformational projects on manufacturing clients go beyond the metro cities. So you kind of look at where your target audience, what kind of works there, and then you frame a strategy to kind of position that product and sell there. So I think that defines that GTM for us.
Got it. And with Acer as well. So in Acer, have you guys also been trying out influencer marketing in your strategies?
Yeah. So for sure in B2B marketing, B2C for sure. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time. So specifically on B2B, we have been doing a lot of work in terms of figuring out who can talk our story. Like I was saying before, that's very important to identify. So for example, cybersecurity is a major concern for a lot of large enterprises. So and a laptop or a PC or an IT product is your gateway for any hacker to go and steal the data. So we work with a lot of experts in that domain to kind of tell a story about how Acer devices are protected, how secure the devices are, and also kind of tell them, see, the other aspect is that you can only tell so much about your product, right? You need to talk about why you need security. It should be about educative content. Should be about there should be a value where the decision maker gets out of it when he watches the content from an influencer. So we kind of ensure that they talk about the ill effects of having devices which are not secure.
Yeah.
And then kind of talk about how products like ours kind of help them to do it. So it's not a traditional tech reviewer which is talking about it, but somebody who is into cybersecurity who's talking about it. So things like that kind of helps us to ensure that the story which is not so often told is we are able to tell through these influencers.
Yes.
Right. So that's something which we have done. So we even have products beyond IT, like we have air purifiers, for example, and air purifiers are traditionally meant for your homes.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the current situation in say schools, right, so many kids fall sick because they transmit a flu or a cold, some of these very easily to another kid.
Yeah.
So having an air purifier inside the classroom actually helps to protect, right? So we kind of do a lot of that work as well in terms of talking about those aspects. So we hire somebody who's an expert, like a doctor, to talk to schools about the benefits of having air purifier in the classroom.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So even if it's a B2C product, there are a lot of benefits on the B2B side, right?
Well.
So I think it depends on what story you want to tell. And I feel that having clear identity of what you want to talk about than just generally telling about your product helps you to get through the clutter. Otherwise, if you just talk about, hey, this PC is good or this laptop is good, that's not really telling the whole story, right?
Yes.
So I think, so we have been working on that aspect quite a lot.
Got it. And when it comes to the story, is there a point where you reach a saturation in terms of, the strategy that you're using? Because it's at the end of the day, you're catering to a B2B client. So is there a market saturation that you reach with your strategies?
Well, yeah, I mean, see, luckily a country like India has many companies which for us to target. So definitely if you go behind one single account, there's definitely a saturation point. But see, if you look at a large enterprise, you also have things like sustainability coming in very strongly. So a lot of corporate houses need to be sustainably or responsibly doing business. So even a IT product is something they consider as something which they can responsibly source. So we have products which is made with recycled plastic, which also helps their sustainability goals. So my point was that we just don't talk to a CIO, we talk to a chief sustainability officer as well.
Yeah.
Right. So you have many avenues to talk to in a company. I see many people who are in the B2B space kind of get stuck, probably going behind one particular guy in the company, CIO or a GM of IT, because he's overwhelmed with messages from various brands. It's not only you who's there in the market, right? But finding what else is in the company in terms of leadership roles and what his or her KPI is to drive, and how does your product fit that KPI. I think if you just think outside of the regular kind of framework of people who makes decisions, which is your IT head in large enterprise, I think you can actually break into account much better, because there the clutter is much lesser.
Yes.
So the saturation point in that sense, we kind of avoid by ensuring that we kind of reach out to a larger audience inside the company. So that's something we have done. And I think one more thing I should point out is that we fail to probably understand what drives that decision maker in terms of hiring or having a product solution in their company. Ultimately, who is their stakeholder? Who is their customer? It is the employees who work in the company. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now, if I am a CIO, okay, and I deploy some solution, and my stakeholders who are the employees who work in the company are not happy with the product, it affects me as a professional in the company, right? Yes. Because if somebody complains that this particular product, what you gave me is not working well, or it's not helping me out, that ultimately kind of reflects badly on me.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
So it's also important that you kind of ensure the employees who work in the company also accepts your brand in some form. So we have also done marketing where we have specifically targeted certain companies, employees through LinkedIn to kind of talk about our product and how it helps productivity and security. So it was just not the CIO we targeted. We kind of targeted people who works in the company through LinkedIn specifically, and ensure that our brand is familiar with them, our product line. And that also helps when CIO gives an Acer laptop. The employees like, yeah, I'm happy to have an Acer laptop, right? So that also helps. So he becomes a hero in the company. That's very important for a lot of brands to consider how your product affects his kind of status in the company in terms of bringing a solution in.
Yes, definitely. So, I think that's a very right strategy. Like, you start from where you are, you have your own people with you, so what their feedback would be more important to you, of
Absolutely.
course. And in terms of the trends that are shaping up the future of marketing now, so since we're approaching the end of 2023, I'm sure a lot of 2024 strategies must be brewing up in your team as well. So what is a trend that you see is gonna shape 2024?
Well, if you're specifically again asking about B2B, I think in influencer marketing, I will say I think micro influencers for sure will definitely gain a lot of prominence. And again, we have a tendency to show to our bosses that we worked with somebody who had 1 million followers or 100,000, 200,000 followers. But the reality is that maybe that's not your right guy to go behind. So I think micro for sure will be definitely something which a lot of people will look into. So quality of audience is super important when you look at influencer marketing. Right. I think the other bit for sure, I think AI will definitely play a big role in terms of marketing. I think it's also gonna ensure that you talk to your audience in a more contextual way. And what I mean is that if I get data from multiple systems about a certain stage of that account, for example, his systems are a certain number of years old and it's ready to get replaced, or I know that the OS what he's using is quite old, so which means his computer also must be old. So then I'm able to kind of ensure that using AI I'm able to differentiate the messaging accordingly. And I can look at even industry-wise messaging, right? I mean, if somebody is in manufacturing, somebody is into how do I say, startup, somebody is into IT services, I'm able to tailor my messaging not only at his email level, but even while he's doing browsing, doing whatever he's doing, I'm able to kind of follow him with the right message. What currently without AI, what we need to do is we need to have multiple headlines, and then that kind of gets pulled into various situations as per the browsing pattern, but then it's not very tailor-made. I mean, it's not so personalized, right? So I think that for sure the personalization part will definitely improve with a lot of AI tools coming in. We are looking at how we can also kind of create images which kind of reflects his working domain. So for example, again, I'll touch upon manufacturing or education, like say a classroom scenario where our products are used versus a manufacturing floor, factory floor where our products or tablets are used. So those kind of imagery could be built with AI, when we talk to him. So AI for sure is gonna be a major revolutionary part of marketing, even in B2B space. So yeah, I think for the next year for sure, the micro influencers, AI, all of that will play a role.
Sooraj, in terms of B2B influencer marketing, what social media platforms have you found to be the best effective ones?
Yeah, so definitely LinkedIn. I mean, there is no doubt about it. But I'll also say YouTube is also very important. Because a lot of content and for example, when you search something on Google, like I'm sure a lot of IT guys search a lot of stuff on Google to how to do, right? That how to do searches are a major part of Google. And Google is throwing up a lot of YouTube videos to the search where those content are relevant. So since Google is largest search platform and YouTube is second largest search platform for these stuff, I think YouTube is definitely something people should not miss out in terms of having a B2B social media vehicle. And this probably goes beyond just having influencers. I mean, having content which could be made by the brand, which talks about the solution, is also super important. Um, I'll also say a lot of case studies because, and this is not purely influencer I'm talking about, but somebody who's from the industry, whom if we can reach out to and kind of get them to talk about how well that the product is helping their business, and if we are able to do a case study, I think that also speaks a lot to a potential decision maker,
Yes.
because ultimately he would like to hear from somebody, some one of his peers, on how it has helped him, apart from just listening to certain brand articles and ads, right? So I think that's also very important, because that's more real, more authentic in terms of there is also some resistance sometimes it builds up. If you're a major influencer and you talk about a brand, there is always apprehension that he's talking because brand is asking him to talk about it. But somebody who's already from his peer circle or some from his industry, who has already used a product, and we are able to make them talk about you, I think that's also a powerful way to ensure that your product is accepted. So for sure, YouTube, LinkedIn, their algorithms little closed still, but we can still understand a lot of the analytics by, like I said, kind of understanding who engaged with you, what is the title of them, at least those level data which we can still get from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is also a good platform. I'll say X, or the former Twitter, as third, because there it's more of a short script, crisp form of content which we consume. But that's something which a lot of decision makers, senior folks in the company, at least have some presence there. Although they might not be so active in Twitter, but they'll be still following some guys on Twitter who they feel is valuable for their profession. So if you rank it, I'll say LinkedIn and YouTube at the top, and then X after that. But I will not discard Instagram as well, because just because we say B2B and Instagram is a lot of B2C content, just doesn't mean that you should not be present in Instagram.
That's true.
Because like I said, he is a human being, he has a life outside the office. So as long as he is consuming content on various platforms, and you're present there on those platforms, you still have a top of mind recall with them. So I think these platforms are important, and definitely having case studies on your platform, or at least if you can see those case studies, that's also a powerful message which you can send out.
Definitely. And over the years, I'm sure like you must have been analyzing the consumer preferences as well, right? Because you, in the end of the day, you cater to a B2C brand as well. So how have you seen the changes in the consumer preference over the years? Like now, the consumer today and the consumer back then.
Well, the consumer today are a lot more read, a lot more well researched, in terms of how he accepts a brand. There's a huge difference. If you look at the consumption pattern, before, TV was a huge platform in terms of influencing consumer choice. But now, especially the audience which we cater, which is the say 16 to 25 audience in the B2C space, especially, their consumption they're all code cutters, like we say. Right, so that has moved a lot into consuming even things like podcasts, right? I mean, the number of people listening to podcast is growing exponentially. So the new age media is something which is very relevant now, and that's something which we have seen our target audience moving rapidly into. And there is less clutter, plus there is a lot more engagement in those platforms. Like for example, even things like Discord is a huge platform for us in gaming, right? So that's something which we explore very actively. So the content consumption patterns definitely changed over the years, and the knowledge level of consumers is high. So even when they go to a store, for example, your sales folk is usually less informed than a consumer in many cases. So when we hire somebody at a store level, we ensure that they can actually speak at the level of the consumer. So it's not the other way anymore. Consumer goes and tells what he needs more than what the store person tells, especially in the age group of 16 to 25. So the exposure what they have for the knowledge they have, I think that's something which is changed. That means brand also needs to upscale, and in terms of how we talk to them. Definitely personalization is a huge aspect of our communication, especially in the B2C space. You are supposed to know your customer when they call you. They don't have patience to explain to you all their history of what the product is, how old their product is, what is their warranty status. That data has to be there in front of the customer support team or the store team, when they walk in. So that expectation is high in terms of that. Also now, privacy is also a big concern. So it's the other end of the spectrum, where one side you need a lot of data to understand the consumer. The other side, privacy is also a major concern. So things like third-party cookie going away, the way we store the data has to be to the highest standard, GDPR compliant, and also our government also is going to bring very stringent laws for digital media storage. So I think those are the things which will really shape how brands can talk to a consumer, how brands can actually engage with the consumer. But definitely the fundamentals remain the same. It's just that the way they kind of go about kind of figuring out things, what they want and how they want to purchase. I mean, things like omni-channel also is a big part of our outlook, right? I mean, they can buy from store and then get delivered to their home. They can buy from online, pick it up from store. So they want that seamless experience all across. I think those expectations are very, very high from consumer. And as a brand, you better catch up with all the trends. Otherwise, they will leave you behind. So,
of course. So to wrap it up, what's your one advice to all the aspiring marketers out there?
Well, aspiring marketers, I think the first advice is that be on top of all your trends. Also, I mean, this is something which I strongly believe. I think one thing which every marketer should understand is consumer behavior or human behavior. I advise a lot of my team members and whoever I meet that you should know all about marketing 100%, but unless you know how to read a consumer, unless you know human behavior, how humans think in different situations, how culture impacts a human mindset, and India is like many countries in one, right? Every state has a different culture, different language. So unless you know how those kind of impacts your consumer behavior, you cannot market to them, you cannot talk to them, right? I think if fundamentally you need to know human beings in terms of how they think and how they behave.
Of course.
Then you apply your marketing strategies, you apply all the modern tools and all the AI and all of that thing which is there. I think that's all there, but then fundamentally you need to be very strong. So I think that's what I'll advise all the upcoming marketers.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Sooraj. This has been a very insightful discussion. I hope the audience also gained a lot of learnings from this. Thanks once again for coming down to Kofluence Unplugged. It was a pleasure hosting you.
It's been an absolute pleasure from my side too.
Thank you so much. And that's a wrap. I've had such an insightful discussion with Sooraj. I hope this was helpful for all the marketers and tech enthusiasts out there. And with that, we conclude episode 15 of Kofluence Unplugged. Until next time, stay happy, stay kind, and keep Kofluencing.